So for an instant we stood, he looking over his shoulder at me, and regarded one another. Then he seemed to remember his higher calling. He turned round and drew himself up, projected his face, and raised his arms and spread his hands in approved ghostly fashion, and came towards me. As he did so, his little jaw dropped and emitted a faint, drawn-out boo. No, it wasn't. Not a bit dreadful. I'd dined, I'd had a bottle of champagne, and being all alone, perhaps 2 or 3, perhaps even 4 or 5 whiskies, so I was as solid as rocks and no more frightened than ever been assailed by a frog. Boo, I said. Nonsense! You don't belong to this place. What are you doing here? I could see him wince. Boo, he said. Boo be hanged. Are you a member? I said. And just to show I didn't care a pin for it, I stepped through a corner of it and made to light my candle. Are you a member? I repeated, looking at him sideways. He moved a little so as to stand clear of me, and his bearing became crestfallen. No, he said, in answer to the persistent interrogation of my eye. I'm not a member. I'm a ghost. Well, that doesn't give you the run of the Mermaid Club. Is there anyone you want to see, or anything of that sort? And, doing it as steadily as possible, for fear that he should mistake the carelessness of whiskey for the distraction of fear, I got my candle alight. I turned on him, holding it. What are you doing here? I said. He had dropped his hands and stopped his booing, and there he stood, abashed and awkward, the ghost of a weak, silly, aimless young man. I'm haunting, he said. You haven't any business to, I said in a quiet voice. I'm a ghost, he said, as if in defense. That may be, but you haven't any business to haunt here. This is a respectable private club. People often stop here with nursemaids and children, and going about in the careless way you do, some poor little mite could easily come upon you and be scared out of her wits. I suppose you didn't think of that. No, sir, he said, I didn't. You should have done. You haven't any claim to the place, have you? You weren't murdered here, or anything of that sort? None, sir. Well, I thought as if it was old and oak-panelled. That's no excuse, I regarded him firmly. Your coming here is a mistake, I said in a tone of friendly superiority. I feigned to see if I had my matches, and then looked up at him, frankly. If I were you, I wouldn't wait for cock-crow. I'd vanish right away. He looked embarrassed. The fact is, sir, he began. I'd vanish, I said, driving it home. The fact is, sir, that somehow I can't. You can't? No, sir.